Welcome to Exit Interview. I'm your host, Yuti Prakash. This podcast explores what happens when women build successful careers within structured professions and then decide to change the rules of how they work, lead, and define success. Today's guest is Morgan Chawaga, founder of The Healthy Architect. Before becoming a career and business coach, Morgan trained and worked as an architect, following the path many of us recognize. Her work right now focuses on helping architects create more income, more impact, and more sustainable careers without leaving the profession behind. Morgan, thank you so much for being here.
Duthie, thank you so much for having me. I am so ecstatic to be on this podcast.
So excited too. In a few words, if you could tell us, just tell us a little bit about your background, how you got here, and then we'll dive right into the meat of it.
Yeah. Well, that's a long story. How long do you have?
About an hour.
About an hour. Perfect. How I got here, I found a gap in the market, a gap with architects, a mindset gap with architects specifically in regards to women in architecture not thinking that they can have this fun filled life and career and business and also make a lot of money. And so that's the gap that I'm filling within the architecture industry.
Amazing. We definitely need that. So let's kind of time travel back in time.
Mm-hmm.
So before the Healthy Architect, you were practicing as a licensed architect. Can you take us back to that period of your career? What did your day to day look like, and how did you experience that role?
Mm-hmm. So I had a career in architecture. I went to undergrad for architecture. I went to University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school, to get my master's in architecture and urban redevelopment. Then I moved from Philadelphia to Nashville and had a project management role. That project management role, I was working with developers in developing land and in a traditional project management role, I would say. I always knew that I was not a traditional architect and that I would probably not own my own firm because that's not what I wanted ever, right? That was just like a gut feeling I had. I loved architecture. Still love architecture, still love the industry, love buildings, right? And textures, love everything architects do. But I think what sets me aside is that I love making money and I love my life and I love empowering others to love their life and to creatively problem solve for the making money part, right?
Right.
And so that was always when I'm taking myself back to that first job that I had, that first career, that was really ignited then because I saw developers making money within architecture. And I also had the privilege of becoming an owner's rep. And when I was an owner's rep, I got to work firsthand with developers, firsthand with architects. My job was actually to hire the architects, and firsthand with contractors. So I got this really large view of multiple architecture firms and how they were functioning. From there, from the owner's representative role, I became a director of marketing at an architecture firm, and where I got to bring projects in, where I got to hire, where I got to fire, where I got to do the marketing and the business development within architecture firms. So I really had a wide array in my quote unquote traditional architecture role.
Wow. Wow, that's quite a trajectory. Not very common to see in the industry. Um, do you at the moment miss any parts of the practice that you used to enjoy?
You know, I'm going to say no. And this is why, because I'm still getting to see it, but just from another vantage point, right?
Right.
I have, like, when I was in that owner's representative role, I was seeing several architecture firms, what worked with those architecture firms, what didn't work with those architecture firms, how they were trying to sell me, how many clients they brought on, all of these roles. And I still get to see that. So my clients are business owners within architecture, or they're women navigating their careers in architecture. So I have two different avatars, as you would say potentially avatars, one being a woman business owner within architecture and one being a woman in architecture that is a CEO or is going to level up to be a CEO in
Hmm.
architecture. And so I still get to see that, but I see it in a different point of view and at a bird's eye view now. So it's
Yeah.
almost more fun, I would say.
Yeah. It's quite a privilege to be in that position too,
What
right?
what a privilege. That
Yeah.
you are absolutely right. What a privilege.
Wow. And you mentioned that obviously you wanted to make a lot more money. I mean, who doesn't? Was there anything else that was it the burnout? Was it the lack of agency or owning something that also led you to where you are today?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a moment I remember working in the architecture firm as the director of marketing. In a
Hmm.
moment thinking that if I stayed in that architecture firm, and I know this is a podcast, so people probably can't see my hands, but this is how much impact I could create on the
Yeah.
architecture industry and on the world and on women in the architecture industry, right? I
Hmm.
was impacting my coworkers, I was impacting my clients, I was impacting my area that I live in. But if I were to step out and if I were to create something that had never been created before in my entire life,
Hmm.
then I had the opportunity and I could create the opportunity to impact women in architecture and really architects all over the world. And that's exactly what
Yeah.
I'm doing right now. Like, I have a client in the
Yeah.
Netherlands, which is like the
Wow.
coolest thing I could ever imagine. And so
Yeah.
if I were to stay safe, let's say, stay safe, stay comfortable, stay where I'd been my entire life within an architecture firm, then
Hmm.
this would be my impact. And for the individuals listening to the podcast, it's very small. And if I were to take a risk, if I were willing to get uncomfortable, then
Yeah.
I could potentially create global impact, which is what I'm
Yeah.
doing right now.
Wow. At that time, were you looking at any precedents of how this had been done, or was there someone else who had inspired you when you were in the system?
I wish I could say yes. I study businesses. I've studied businesses my entire life,
Hmm.
informally and formally as well, but more informally, I would say.
Yeah.
So I wish I could say that there was somebody or something that inspired me.
Mm.
And maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was a lack of somebody, right?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I always struggled to find a woman in architecture that I could look up to,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And career or business wise. And so maybe it was that lack of person and
Mm.
individual that pushed me to create something that I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
Does that make
Wow.
sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think we're so wired to just look at this one person and follow their path and know that a path has been created for the rest of us, and it's unusual to see sort of the lack of something
Right.
um, inspiring you to really get to where you are today, and that's incredible. So you really essentially charted your own path with no precedent of someone else having done it before, right?
And that's
Um,
really what I
yeah,
coach
yeah.
women to do as well, right? A
Hmm.
lot of my clients, whether they are employees or business owner, they're creating things that they've never seen before. They're
Yeah,
creating positions that weren't on LinkedIn, right? They're
right, right.
creating businesses that they have no precedent for.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you're really telling people, you can achieve the impossible. It's been done before. So, I'm the living example right here of that. So yeah, that's incredible. I think, yeah, thank you for doing what you do.
It's like you said earlier, it's a privilege.
Yeah, it really is. So when you did transition to marketing and strategy, um, were there any skills from architecture that translated well into that role? And if
Mhm.
that's something, would you recommend that architects do that as an alternate career path?
I would recommend it if it's something that they're interested in
Hmm.
and it's something that they aspire to. So, interestingly enough, throughout my entire career, I was always how do I put this? I was always kind of pushed into areas where my strengths were. I never saw myself as somebody in marketing or business development, but I remember the day that my boss at the time told me, "Oh, Morgan, no, you're going to be in marketing. You're going to be helping us with business development. That is your strength."
Mhm.
I never, at that time in my career, saw it as a strength. It was just something that came naturally to me, I would say.
Yeah.
And so, yes, if it comes naturally to you or if it's something that you're interested in, then yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I believe that more architects in general need to know how to market
Yep.
themselves as well as their firms, maybe even themselves more than their firms, because when they are marketing themselves, they are
Yep.
marketing the firm as well. And they're
Right.
creating their future career, creating their future business, right? When you know
Yeah.
how to market yourself and your services, then you're crafting that path forward for yourself. So, if
Yeah.
marketing is something, if you ever want to own your own business, yes, let's
Yeah.
get into marketing. Let's make it fun. Let's learn more about business development. Let's make that sexy.
Hmm.
And yeah, if it's something you're
Yeah.
interested in, then yes, absolutely.
Amazing. Um, wow. So you said that that skill came naturally to you. Was there a skill that you really had to evolve and learn to make it to where you are today?
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of them I had to evolve and learn. I think
Yeah.
the biggest one for me was my mindset, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that I help architects overcome as well. And I continually evolve and work on my mindset, right?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
as architects, we went through undergrad and we learned, at least most of us, or at least the architects that I know, learned that, and we're conditioned to believe that you have to work 24/7, and you're not going to make a lot of money, and don't get in this career if you want to make a lot of money,
Hmm.
and you're not going to be healthy. You're going to be sleeping in studio, right? At least that
Yeah.
was my experience.
Hmm.
And I've had to continually and continuously uncondition my mindset and rewire my neural pathways and rewire my brain.
Hmm.
And this is what I help my clients do as well, to realize that if you want different results in architecture, in your business as an
Yeah.
individual, then you have to do things differently, right?
Hmm.
If you
Hmm.
want more money or more time with your family or more time with your dog or more life, time to live, whatever you like doing,
Yeah.
then you can't do things the same way that architects have done them in the past. If you
Hmm.
want to pick up a hobby, let's say, for instance, for me, rope climbing at 2
Yeah.
p.m. on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
then you have to do things differently than you've learned before, than you have
Yeah.
learned or you've seen architects do in the past,
Right.
right? You
Hmm.
can't do business or your career the same way you've seen architects the same way you've seen that architects have done them in the past. You have to do
Right.
things differently in order to get different results.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here's the thing, you can get those different results. And
Hmm.
it's all up here. It's all based on what you believe that you can do and
Yeah.
strategy to get there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I totally relate to what you're saying. Having been in the industry for so long, I've seen architects retain the same strategies as they have 50 years ago.
Mhm.
And so, do you think we're seeing a new generation of architects that are actually taking, rebranding themselves or taking marketing a little more seriously or allocating more of a budget towards that than we used to in the past?
Absolutely. Those
Yeah.
are my clients.
Yeah.
Yes. I am getting architects all over the world that are coming to me saying, Morgan, this is what I want. I just don't know how to get there. Right.
Mm.
Whether it be a career in project management, a director of project management, let's say, for instance,
Mhm.
a client came to me and said, I've never seen this role. This role does not exist in my firm. How do I create it? How do I get there? How do I get
Yeah.
paid more? How do I get reduced hours, right?
Right.
And paid more at the same time. Something that they've never seen before in the industry, but it's
Mhm.
happening. It's becoming reality, right?
Yeah.
I had a client come to me and she's still my client. She's amazing. She's been my client for We just had a 12-month contract, and then she signed again.
Mhm.
And I remember she came to me burnt out and tired. And she was like, I can't keep running my business this way. And I said, okay, well, let's get you out of the architecture role and into the CEO role, right? You've been in the
Yeah.
architecture role for too long. Let's actually grow your business so you can have more time with your children. And
Mm.
she was hesitant at first, but now we look at her, and when we started hiring, she hired not one, but two individuals. And
Wow.
within 3 months, her income was up 5 figures
Yeah. Wow.
within three
Incredible.
months.
So she left her previous role and just started her own firm.
She
And
actually
yeah.
had this individual had her firm for more than 5 years, but she was a
Okay.
sole practitioner the
Okay.
entire time, and she was doing
Yeah.
absolutely everything, right?
Right.
But
Right.
we took her out of that sole practitioner role and
Hmm.
into a CEO role where she
Right.
had other individuals running her firm with her.
Mm. Wow. Um, do you, so would you say that the majority of your clients are women, or the people that come to you for help are women,
Say
or
that one
is
more
it a
time.
mix? Would you say that the majority of people who come to you for help are women, or is it a mix of men and women?
It in the beginning, it was a
Yeah.
mix, but
Yeah.
now it's 99% women, I would say. Maybe not 99, maybe 95% women,
Yeah.
but mostly women in architecture, yes.
And I have a theory for that, and please correct me if
Mhm,
that's not what you're saying. But when I worked for large corporate firms, I would see firms put out diversity numbers, right? They would say,
mhm,
oh, 55% of our firm is women,
mhm,
and the rest are men. And but then when you're actually in the firm, what you see is the 55% is concentrated between the lower and the middle
mhm.
designer level, right? Not in the leadership level. And
Yeah.
so I started to see a lot of women leave when they get to that midpoint and start their own firms because they just didn't see a way to go up. And so,
Mhm.
do you think that's why you're seeing a lot of women go out and open their own firms just because they don't see a way to get over that roadblock in the corporate ladder?
You know, I don't. And
Okay.
here's why. Here's why I think a couple of reasons why I have mostly women architects coming to me.
Hmm.
One, because they're smarter than corporate, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not that they don't see a road up. I think
Uh
that they
huh.
do know that there is a road up, and they do know that they could achieve that if they wanted to. But
Hmm.
I think before they hire me, they have found something in their brain and in their beautiful mindset that's like, you know what, I could go that route, or I could have more impact, create more income, and actually have a more flexible lifestyle
Hmm.
than if I stayed the corporate route.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest reasons
Mm.
why business owners come to me, because they know that there's more out there without having that rundown lifestyle. But I also think, like I said before, that there was a lack of women in architecture
Mm.
that I could look up to. So I think that also what you put out into the world, you get back. And what I put out
Yeah.
into the world and from my business is you're going to make more money. You can pick up hobbies at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. You can authentically be yourself
Yeah.
and have this amazing life while staying in architecture if that's what you want to do. So I think
Yeah.
I'm putting that out into the world and I'm getting that back as well.
Yeah, I totally see that. You are attracting that energy from what I've
Mhm.
been from me following you for so long. Um, and you talked about money, right? So you put out
Uh-huh.
you put into the world that, hey, I want to make more money. Has your relationship with money and time changed since you were in that traditional architect role and now?
Yeah, am I allowed to curse?
Please, by all means.
Hell yes, it has. Hell yes, it has. When I was in the architectural role, I like white knuckled finances, white knuckled
Yeah.
money, right? It
Mhm.
was so foreign to me. And I was so scared that a budget would go over, or I was so
Mm.
scared of money moving,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And now, because I've retrained my money mindset, and that's actually a workshop that I teach, and it's in the foundation. So check it out since you're in
Yeah.
there. Money now is more abundant to me. and to
Right.
my clients.
Mm.
It's not a scarcity mindset of money.
Yeah.
I know that
Mm.
money now is a current and it's supposed to move and it's supposed to
Mm.
flow. And if I want to make more money, then I have to be more creative. It's just a
Mm.
creative problem solving game, is all it is. And so when
Yeah.
you white knuckle it,
Yeah.
you are creating a ceiling for your income and for your money. But when
Right.
you stop white knuckling it and you actually play with it, you actually have more fun with money, you actually talk about it, you actually hold it, you actually respect it and know that it is abundant and
Mm-hmm.
that you can create it. Right? You can
Yeah.
create
Yeah.
money, you can create income streams. It becomes a fuck ton more fun, first of all, but more abundant as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can totally relate to that because when you're in a 9 to 5, you're restricted. You have a ceiling, like you said, a
Mhm.
limitation. And then you kind of have to rewire your brain to understand that, hey, if you want to make money, you have to spend money, and there's no other
Mhm.
way, really. And so I think that's really the evolution, right? From a 9 to 5 worker to a CEO or business owner.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's really that's I think imperative. If someone is willing to make that shift, I think that's one thing they need to know. And if someone were willing to, let's say they listen to us today
Mhm.
and they say, hey, this is it, it's now or never. What
Mhm.
is one thing you would tell them, to financially prepare themselves for if they were to start a business or become a CEO of their own practice?
Yeah. How would I financially prepare them? I would say have fun, first of all, but
Hmm.
also, how do I say this? Play more and be open to more as well. So when I first started The Healthy Architect years ago, I had to take on other income streams in the beginning.
Mm. Yeah.
And that when I was in that state, taking on other income streams, at that point in my life, for some reason, I had this feeling that that was a failure
Mm.
of having to bring in more income in different areas. I just had
Yeah.
this feeling that,
Yeah.
wow, I am a failure if I have to bring in income streams elsewhere
Yeah.
from this sole business.
Right.
And now I reflect on it and I see it as a goal, like a privilege and a lesson that I needed to learn. And I will, from now on, hopefully, here's the game
Mhm.
plan. This is my master plan. I hope to always have multiple income streams coming in,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
I hope to always have these levers of money and business that I can always pull.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that was my lesson of it's not a failure if you have to bring in other income streams, or it's actually a privilege that you can bring in other income streams and
Yeah.
it can feed into your business and it's actually can be fun. So that would be my financial advice in the beginning. If you need to bring in other income streams, see it as a positive, see it as a strength, and see it
Yeah.
as actually strengthening your business and your marketing.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think so if someone were to go get like a part-time barista job or sell things on Amazon, that's totally fine. That's, you're just getting started, you're hustling, you're
Yeah.
making your way. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're having fun doing it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
as long as, let's say you become a barista, right? To
Hmm.
make ends meet. First of all, hell yes, do it.
Yeah.
Make me the best
Fun.
coffee you've
Yeah.
ever made me in
Yeah.
your entire life. Have
Uh-huh.
fun doing it.
Yeah.
But then secondly, like get behind the scenes in that business. If you go to, let's say you
Mm.
go to Starbucks, start learning about Starbucks. Start learning how they
Yeah.
market. Start
Yeah.
learning how, as a sales rep or barista there, how you're selling, how you're pitching a coffee. Start selling the best GD coffee you've ever sold in your entire life.
Right.
Then you're getting paid to do that. Then you can take what you learn there and apply it to your architecture business, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
hell yes, it's you're getting paid to learn.
Yeah. And so would you say that maybe we need to start thinking more like large businesses and how they market their
Not
products?
not even large businesses, like businesses in general. Yes, 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 yes. Like
Yeah.
the sole so yes, I study architecture firms, but the majority of my knowledge comes outside of architecture, and I'm bringing it inside architecture. Like, I my whole life have studied businesses outside of architecture, and now I'm teaching architects how to think more like them,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So hell yes. Like, I
Yeah.
when I coach my clients, I tell them, whenever you go to a nail salon, like, look at how the nail salon is marketing.
Mm.
Look at, feel in your body. Are you going to come back here? How long was the wait? Were people nice to you? What was the end product? What was the price? And
Mhm.
then go to another nail salon in your town and do the same exact thing. I've been doing that for years at restaurants, right? Like, what
Yeah.
was the service like? What was the cost?
Yeah.
How did you feel when you walked into the restaurant? How
Mm.
often did they come to your table? How often did they pour up the water glass, right? Like,
Right.
did you see the owner of the restaurant there? Was the owner serving tables? Was the owner mopping the floors, right? Those are all things that I look at, and then I
Mhm.
translate it into architecture business.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I think, yeah, I've been studying, business from afar, and there's so much that we can incorporate. Like you said, like, how invested are owners in their own businesses, and you really see that in the success of a business.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of time, right? I've heard you talk a lot about, being careful with your time. Don't just give it away.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from the mindset of, going from a 9 to 5 um, architect or designer, how would you really change or shift your the way your brain is wired, and when it comes to time when you become a CEO or a business owner, right? So
Yeah.
what do you need to start protecting, and how do you protect it and let people know that you have these boundaries?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, in the beginning, when I started my own business, I've always known that my time is precious. I'm a high achiever, like many of my clients are as well. And time is money, time is life, right? I have two beautiful little girls. I have an amazing husband. I have an amazing life. Oh my gosh, my life is, I'm so blessed. And I have to put boundaries around that time. I
Yeah.
learned early on that if I allow everybody in this world to take up my time and have direct access to me, that
Yeah.
burns me out.
Hmm.
And if I am burned out, then I cannot spread my gold around, spread my gift around to the people that need it, right?
Yeah.
I cannot
Hmm.
spread my services around unless I am 120% full.
Hmm. Hmm.
In order for me to be 120% full, I have to do X, Y, and Z in my life and in my business, right?
Yeah.
So it is a requirement that if I have this, and I'm not a religious person, I am a little bit spiritual though, but if God gave me this gift to spread to the world, like architects have, right?
Hmm.
Architects have this gift that they need to spread to the world to change the world, then
Yeah.
I need to make sure I have boundaries up. And so
Hmm. Yeah.
I preach that to my clients, and I teach that to my clients. How, if they have this service, they have this gold that they need to spread to the world, because I know
Yeah.
that they do, then
Yeah.
how will they keep that energy? And keeping
Hmm.
that energy so that they can spread that gold is done by putting up boundaries.
Mm. Yeah. um I think that's a really good point. And speaking of clients, when you first started the Healthy Architect,
Mm-hmm.
how how did you sign your first client? Did you attract them or did you chase them? And I know people use both strategies to get
Yeah.
clients. Yeah.
I'm not sure I know how to chase clients very well. I've always magnetized clients.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
positioned myself to magnetize clients.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, if anybody has followed me for a while, the Healthy Architect was much different in the beginning, like completely different business than where it is
Hmm.
now.
Hmm.
So I was very authentic. I still am very authentic. I'd like to believe that I'm very authentic, and I
Yeah, you
put
are.
out into the world my superpower and my gold.
Uh-huh.
And clients came to me and said, "Hey, Morgan, do you think you could?" I still remember the first client that came to me and said, "Morgan, do you think you could help me negotiate a salary?" That was not what the Healthy Architect was in the beginning
Yeah.
whatsoever, right?
Uh-huh.
I have no idea what I put out into the world to make her think that I could help her do that. But I said to myself, okay, I've done this before with
Hmm.
for no money, right? I've helped women throughout my career negotiate higher salaries and negotiate things just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, let's try it. Like, let's try. You can use my formula, what I've used in the past. Let's try it. And not only did she negotiate a higher salary, a bonus, reduced
Wow.
work hours, and
Yeah.
maternity leave, but on top of that, she contacted me a year later and said, I used the same formula. And now I negotiated firm ownership. So now she's an owner, a
Wow.
partial owner of the
Yeah.
firm.
Yeah.
So going back to your question, I magnetize my clients,
Yeah.
and whatever is working, I repeat. If it's
Hmm.
working, if I have fun doing it, if I'm creating more impact on the architecture industry or the world, then I
Yeah.
repeat it.
Yeah. Yeah, what you said about women being, from my experience, I haven't seen women asking for things as much as men do.
Mhm.
And I've had friends come to me and say, hey, I want to ask for that raise, but what if they're going to fire me? Like, why would they fire you for that? That's not something that's a fireable offense. And I think there's just this notion of, if you ask for something, you might get it. And if you don't, it's not the worst thing, right? It's not the worst thing that could happen.
Mhm.
So there's a saying where like a crying baby gets milk. And I always
Mhm.
think of that when, like you have to ask for something, at least put it out there so people know that you want it.
And can I
Yeah,
further on that for a second?
sure.
Because that's so common
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
women in architecture come to me and say, I want to negotiate, but I'm scared that this will happen, right?
Yeah.
I know that they don't see themselves when you learn to negotiate. The people
Hmm.
on the other side of the table are actually seeing you as a leader. They're
Right.
actually seeing how you negotiate,
Hmm.
and will actually, if you have good leaders and good leadership, they will respect you more. And something will pop into their
Yeah.
brain and say, if she's negotiating with us, then she's going to know how to negotiate with a contractor or a sub
Yeah.
consultant
Yeah.
or the owner, right?
Right. Right.
Like negotiation is just a skill that
Uh-huh.
CEOs have to have, or principal architects, or wherever you want to go in life.
Yeah.
It's just a skill that
Hmm.
if you want to up level, you need to have. So it's not about you, it's actually showing your firm what
Hmm.
you can do, what kind of negotiation skill you have. So it actually makes you a better businesswoman.
Yeah. And would you say that if someone did try doing that and maybe the firm owners were not as receptive as they should be, maybe they should just find a new position at a different firm or consider other avenues?
Here's what I'll say to that. I can't say to find a different position at a different firm, but what I will
Hmm.
say is whatever you want to have, you can have. You just get
Yeah.
have to get creative at it
Yeah. And ask for it.
and ask for it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, or create it.
Creative. Yeah. Or create it yourself. Right. Right.
Create it
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. We are nearing the end.
Already? Oh my gosh.
No, it
This
was
is
so
so
much
short and so
fun.
much fun.
Yeah, so much fun. If someone were to listen to us today and just say, "Listen, I'm gonna do this," they're gonna tell their spouse, "I'm gonna do this. Support me." Um, and they feel stuck, but they're very capable. They just don't know how to get there. What is that one thing that you would tell them?
Jump.
Hmm.
And that you're supposed to feel uncomfortable. You're
Yeah.
supposed to feel discomfort.
Yeah.
And it's okay to feel scared. That is
Hmm.
normal. And that fear is often a green light.
Yeah. Hmm.
I think so many times individuals, humans, right? It's very human to not want to go towards discomfort.
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to grow, discomfort is actually where you want to learn to sit and learn to stay.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Just getting out of your comfort zone and trying that one thing can feel so liberating.
Mhm.
And I think more of us need to just take that leap and get there, and eventually get there. Not right away, but so okay. One final question: if you
Yeah.
could speak to your past self, the architect who has not pivoted yet, what would
Mhm.
you want her to know?
I would want her to know that she has everything inside of her,
Yeah.
and she just needs to believe that and jump,
Mm.
and know that when she falls, when she jumps, that she's going to get back up, and she's
Mhm.
going to be stronger the next time she gets back up.
Yeah, I hear you. Um, I feel like you're speaking directly to me.
I know
Uh,
my avatar client.
you do. You know your audience really well. Morgan, thank you so much for sharing your story so honestly. This conversation is a reminder that leaving a role doesn't mean leaving your profession, it just means reclaiming how you participate in it. You've been listening to Exit Interview, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Bye. Thank you so very much.
Bye. Thank you, Morgan. I'm going to stop. Hi everyone. I wanted to come on here after recording second episode with an incredible guest. I'm so excited for you all to meet her, and I wanted to um, just talk about some post episode reflections. One of them, number one, um, just if you're hesitating about anything in your life, if you're feeling stuck, if you're um, second guessing taking this big leap that you've been thinking about for years, maybe even a decade, I really think you should do that now and just take that leap because life will happen. Things will happen. There's always going to be an excuse to really to achieve that dream or to pursue what you always wanted to pursue. And it could be anything. It could be running a marathon. It could be starting a business. It could be traveling, taking a year off to travel, right? So um, it now is really this is your sign. I'm giving you that agency to take the lead. And secondly, I wanted to say is if you are working a job that you feel like you cannot get promoted, you can't really um, get to leadership or convince people that you can do more, that you are capable of more, then there are ways to get there. Don't just give up. Um, Negotiation is really important, especially um, when you're capable, when you know you're capable, right? There are ways to get there, and there are people who can help you do it. And I will introduce you to one of them very soon. The guest reveal will be up in a couple days, and you can see who our next guest is. And until then, we'll just be teasing her to you guys.